I have a wonderful electronic invention I want you to see.
This is James Mathers at NAB 2019 for the Digital Cinema Society and Studio Daily. I'm here with Garrett Brown. He's my friend. He's an inventor. He's a filmmaker. Well, Garrett, how do you define yourself? You do so many different things. A folk rock musician.
Is this 2019? Get out of here. We've been coming here for 40 years. That's a good question. I don't know. What do I think of myself? When we come in the country and customs says occupation, for a while I was saying inventor, and my wife said, no, that's not cool. Inventor's not cool. Say you're a cameraman. But you know what? I'm a better inventor than I ever was a cameraman. I'm still enough of a camera guy to cherish the great thing that this little invention has, given us. And at first it gave it to me. I invented the Steadicam because I wanted one. I had a big old dolly and I wanted it to be smooth. But I'm asked now a lot about gyro gimbals. Is that of interest to you? The discussion between the relative merits of the gyro gimbals, which are everywhere. Do we? Of
course.
You know what we're talking about? The things with a camera stabilized in the middle, and you walk around with them. The gyro gimbal, right? And the now 45-year-old Steadicam. What are the relative merits? And while we're at it, why is Steadicam still happening more than ever, right? And you know what? It comes down to the seminal motion picture art of operating. And operating literally is, how do you control the eyeball of the audience? That lens is the audience's eyeball, Where do you put it, and when, and why, and how do you move it? Traditionally, operating was a 2 or 3 note segment of the keyboard. Operating was panning, show a little panning, tilting, and rolling. Very good. He's good. Now, when Steadicam, all of a sudden the keyboard got to be the full 88 keys, because we not only do that, but with the lens on our fingertips, weightless, we move the lens through space. We move it up and down, and I won't ask you to do all this because you don't have a Steadicam. You have a handheld camera. It's all right. We're not offended. No, the thing that Steadicam gave me, which is what I wanted, was to be liberated to use our human legs, our ambulating ability, our matchless facility to get around in the world, in addition to the panning and tilting of our eyeballs, the audience's eyeball, right? And the great thing about now suddenly having your legs back, in effect, and without having to have a gigantic dolly on a track, is that the art of operating does exactly what humans do. You operate your eyeballs, Jim, very well by my, we are spectacular operators of our personal camera, our eyeballs. And not only do we pan and tilt and do all that, we do it with incredible precision. We move to see what we want. If I needed to see around camera, I would just move my camera. If I wanted to see what's around the next corner, I make that graceful move, And so ingrained in me and thousands of Steadicam operators is this ability to precisely place the eyeball and aim it, Now, this brings us to the gimbals, right? Because Steadicam is hard. Steadicam is a skill. It's an invention that hardly works. I mean, without a gifted operator, it's a piece of junk, right? The combination of a gifted operator and this tool that lets you do this is this astounding, ability to get around. So now comes the amazingly democratic idea of gimbals, because the gimbal is inherently stable. Theoretically, anybody without that skill can pick it up and move through space and make a smooth shot. Infinitely seductive idea, right? I love the idea as well. I love the idea of democratizing this phenomenon so anybody can pick it up and make shots. Why? Because I hate handheld. All right, I won't do that again. I hate what it looks like. We don't see that way. We see stable. I hate what a camera does when it's held at its skin and is shaky. So great, the gimbals democratize this phenomenon. They are stable. Why are people getting discouraged with them? And why are people bouncing back to Steadicam? And the reason has to do with the nature of their stability. They are phenomenally, almost mindlessly, stupidly stable. And almost so stable that they're, almost anti-human because they just sit there. Yes, they move through space with great stability. But suddenly when you want the gimbal's camera to react to the real world and what's happening, they suddenly become mushy and sloppy and so on. So here goes somebody moving, and you move the gimbal and the camera goes, and you have to move it and stop it, and you tilt up and it goes, but you have to stop it and you tilt down, and and it's discouraging to people. Now it's true that if you bring on a second party with a set of wheels, you can operate a gimbal very precisely. And so you would say, okay, well, that's fine. Well, you need a skilled person on the wheels to do that. If you haven't got that, what you've got is the ability to see in a kind of extremely drunk, numb kind of way about the world. This sounds worse for gimbals than I mean it to, but because they are wonderful, marvelous things. But what they're not good at is operating. And the final thing that is irritating about them is the Steadicam is a very inert, beautifully suspended object. So if you start with your hands doing this, it moves absolutely smoothly. If you walk through space, your body is moving around and the Steadicam goes straight. When your loaded hands are holding a gimbal, you are now back, you've lost that fine motor skill, and unfortunately, you see your motion as a walking creature showing up in those shots, because any foreground object will be weaving and moving and darting. So despite all my, alleged and completely dishonest respect for gimbals, I think it is true that, I still love the Steadicam, and I have no bias whatsoever about this. And thank you for asking.
Well, how about combining both, the best of both worlds?
Well, let's see, if I can come up with an analogy for that. That would be like putting a horse on the back of a camel. In other words, you're combining two things that they do different things. And if you're good at the Steadicam, well, then the job's done. In fact, we have a new gizmo, as you saw, that a couple of years ago called the Volt technology that keeps Steadicam operating level. And that is one of the annoying housekeeping chores that a skilled operator has to do. You have to do all the operating and, oh yes, by the way, you have to keep it level. Now that chore is done, and the result of that is we can do shots that would have been impossible previously because, we couldn't possibly be that bold. Now we can go for stuff that, we would have feared to do. Even I, who I regard myself excessively well, even I would have been afraid to do some of the stuff you can now do, So my only regret is that this wasn't invented, when I was actually shooting movies, because it would have been fantastic. We turned up a genius fellow named Steve Wagner, and I persuaded Tiffen to license his technology, his software, and the combination of our inventiveness and that has yielded this device, which is just a couple of motors on the gimbal, and they do spectacular things. So our end of it is still evolving, and it's a real horse race between Steadicam and the gyros,
And you're not biased at all?
No. Can you see by my face this completely innocent, unbiased person?
Thank you so much, Garrett.
Wonderful to see you, Jim. Take care. All right, bye-bye.
I'm still here at the Tiffen booth. I just interviewed Garrett Brown, and now Seth Emmons is going to tell us about not just Steadicam and gimbal, but marrying those two together in your new product.
Yeah, one of the products we're showing here that we're really excited about is called the Steadimate-S. The S stands for its compatibility with the Ronin-S single handheld gimbal stabilizer. It's a very popular device out there right now for mirrorless and DSLR cameras that allows 3-axis stabilization, but it has some limitations. And what we're trying to do is provide a way to make that really friendly for the operator while also providing some alternate creative opportunities for camera motion. So the way that works is we provide a gimbal that goes around the neck of the Ronin-S and then a counterbalance weight system at the bottom. And that gimbal attaches to any stabilizer arm and then a vest so that an operator can wear it and fly it like a traditional Steadicam system. So not only does this reduce the fatigue of the operator from having to hold something out in front of you with 2 hands, it also allows you to put all of that weight on your hips, which is a much more sustainable, ergonomic way of operating.
What's the camera weight capacity?
So our units, we're selling it in 2 systems. One is the 15 system, which combines our Aero vest and then the A15 arm, which can support up to 15 pounds. We also have a configuration that supports 30 pounds with our A30 arm and our Zephyr vest.
So you still have all the same controls that you have with the Ronin-S?
Yeah, the Ronin itself has all the controls, the thumb panning and the gimbal operation, but what you gain is the ability to stabilize your Z-axis for movement, as well as doing full panning with your hand, as opposed to the joystick for a little bit smoother operation. And you can actually flip the whole thing into low mode for very low stabilized shots.
Thank you so much, Seth.
Thank you.
Oh.